I gotta work on my capacity to receive. Who here can receive? Receiving is so important for everybody. How open are you to even receive? Receive help, receive money, receive support. Me, I've had a whole lot of support and people willing to help me. And it wasn't until I got through a number of blocks and limiting beliefs that I was even open to having the life that I desire. And I'm building that right now. Even like with this photo shoot, I've been desiring to point the camera at only the things that I want to point the camera at, instead of working in a capacity that has me doing things that don't really value my talent, skill set, or time. And it took a while. I mean, it took a year and a half, almost 2 years before I even began pointing this camera at me. And to do it consistently, I have to remind myself all the time that, hey, I deserve this. This is what I'm building now. I've said no to job opportunities. I've let go of job opportunities when I've really needed that money, because I didn't want to undervalue myself and put myself in a position of burnout. And I feel like a lot of us artists do that. And that is no longer acceptable to me. So like I was saying, it's no longer acceptable to me to do any kind of work that I don't want to do. And I feel like a lot of artists, especially artists behind the camera, are willing to do work at a cheaper rate. And a lot of us find ourselves in burnout because we work at this cheaper rate that doesn't necessarily feed us and create any kind of foundation for our financial needs. And we end up still needing to look for work while we're still closing work and handing in deliverables. We don't position ourselves to outsource to other editors, and it creates an immense degree of burnout. Even in like my last deal, where I was like, okay, I want 20% of what we're creating. I was going to create an online school, and if you don't want to give me 20%, I'll take 15%, but give me $1,000 a month. Even that sounds good, but when I look back into it, like all the driving, the back and forth, the still not being able to pay an editor like what I really would want to pay an editor, it was a really bad deal. And I still found myself burnt out and unable to deliver the best service. And I have to keep reminding myself that in order for me to deliver the best service, I must feel fully taken care of. Otherwise, my energy, focus is going to be pulled somewhere else, and I'm going to end up delivering something mediocre. So in that process, I had to look at, well, am I really doing what I want to do with whatever client? Is that what I really want to do? Am I just doing it for money? And if I answer yes to that question, then the rule moving forward is that I can no longer do it. I can't do that job. If I really just want only the money, I can't do that job. I have learned that real abundance comes from when I really just want to share a gift or a service or a product because I believe it will serve someone immensely. It'll make their life so much better than what they're living now. They'll experience some kind of transformation. If I'm able to offer that experience of transformation, if I'm able to offer that experience of transformation, then I am a big full body F yes, let's do it. So I began thinking about like, well, what turns me on? What makes me the happiest when I do it? Or what about like my last experience didn't I really like? And one of the things I didn't like about my last client experience for myself personally is, one, I really care about moral integrity, and I really care about moral integrity, and I've defined that very clearly for myself what that is. And I want to be around people that practice that sense of moral integrity as well, in terms of how we communicate with one another, how we relate to other people, both other men, other women, children, and where we are being in leadership in that space and how that leadership is impacting both the men, women, and children in our community. And so if I'm exposed to like a culture that doesn't really uphold very similar values, then it feels like a drain, because then I feel like in order for me to be my authentic self, I have to speak up against what's happening, which I'm all about. I'm doing it in these videos right now. And the client service person relationship, I would just be concerned that it gets compromised in that situation. So I said, okay, cool. I must be around people that are going to buy into my leadership of healthy conscious relating. And I noticed that the way where I get the most joy in terms of my work behind the camera, where healthy conscious relating integrates with serving the client, is through a lot of my portrait sessions. My portrait sessions with people, my lifestyle sessions, are always filled with us doing very, very deep emotional dives into the beingness. And it gives me the opportunity to, one, help the person work through any kinds of blocks, hold space for that, where they feel very safe to be open and seen and loved, and then show that person what it looks like through capturing those moments in still frames or video. And so I decided that moving forward, the Bryce Studio, me, Anthony Bryce Graham, I'm only going to accept work where I'm able to facilitate that and where people are bought into it. So working with me requires transformational growth. It requires deep insight into one's inner life and emotions, and it can be scary. It can be very vulnerable if you are exposing yourself and parts of yourself so that we can capture something that's real and pure and create memories that are encompassing a sense of being that's true and authentic, and give you the space to not only be yourself, but to look at things that you may have not have looked at, or allow people to look at things that you've never allowed them to look at, and feel the freedom in having them exposed. And a lot of times we think that exposing our vulnerabilities, like our shame, our guilt, will make it mean that somebody might not love us. And guess what? Somebody might not love you. However, my job is to love you no matter what. And I think that's a phenomenal job. And I've consistently asked myself to always see people for who they are. And I believe that you are God's highest form of creation. I learned this from Bob Proctor. I learned to only look at people this way because people are inherently limitless, because we can imagine a reality and create it. We're the only creature on earth that really, really does that, where the limitlessness of imagination is so vast and expansive that the possibilities of what we can create equal that own expansiveness. And so I've chosen to only see people as that, even if we're not in alignment with where we are in the practice of our own expansiveness. So for instance, when I think about where people's minimal standards of moral integrity lie, I'm sure my minimal standards are somebody's like super, super, super low standards. I'm sure that there's people with higher tiers of minimums than what I practice. And my practice in life is to seek those people and to connect with them and learn from them and grow and expand. And I believe that if somebody is not practicing awareness at a similar level, that's doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them worse. And I've learned to look at life where people aren't labeled as good or bad. People are doing things that may harm other people, that may not be beneficial to a community or the culture. People may do things that are supremely beneficial to a community, culture, and themselves. And a lot of people are carrying different definitions of what that really is. And my goal in life is to love people where they are, meet them where they are, and allow them to enter into the game of uncovering even more of who they are. And so I found that initially a lot of my clients are women because they want to be held safely in what we're calling a masculine container. And I love holding space for women because I was finding that it was also healing for me. I was learning a lot of tools that would make it so holding space for women, it makes me more qualified to hold space for women. So I was learning a lot of tools that would make me more qualified to hold space for women. And initially, as I was entering into this career and profession, I really just wanted to experience somebody being seen by me, because in the past, my integrity and my moral sense of integrity was very low, and I hurt people, particularly women, and particularly women I really, really love. And being able to learn and grow and acquire different awarenesses and practice different practices where I feel like I've improved myself and to have that be seen, it's very validating for me. It's very, very validating for me. I don't want to hit my microphone. So being able to learn, practice, grow, and have someone see me being a newer version of myself, which is what I get out of these sessions as well, is very validating for me. And I love that validation. I went to acting school and I got my master's degree at USC. And so being seen is really, really important to me. And I believe being seen is really, really important to everybody. I believe that through what we witness in art, particularly in entertainment like music and movies and even sports entertainment, that we are looking at a mirror of ourselves, and some of us are seeking different mediums. Like if I watch that movie, like with, I know a lot of people don't like him, Tom Cruise, he's one of my favorite actors. I want to see myself as the hero, and Tom Cruise gives me that opportunity. And if I do deeper work, I get to see where I can show up against all the odds. And I can be in the practice of that now. And I believe a lot of people want that for themselves and want to be seen as these beings that we witness, and which is why we watch them. We're wanting to learn and absorb what is before us. Now, sometimes we go into like watching horror films. That has a different aspect of what we would like to be seen within us. And even in my sessions, we will uncover what may not be so beautiful. We may uncover what we may judge as ugly. And that can be very, very exposing for the individual that may look into an aspect of themselves that they are judging as ugly. And like I said earlier, I'm not judging somebody as good or bad. I'm accepting them for who they really are, which is God's highest form of creation. And people have limitless spherical potential to create anything that they desire, be anything that they desire, and do anything that they desire. And I think what I love being able to provide is an environment for that exploration. And then I like to capture it. I think it's a very brilliant opportunity that I get to experience.